Hello and welcome back. So this couple days I've been focused on this ship and of course on its weapons, and I did max out the skills for the decomposers to be more precise for the medium decomposers, and now this ship has nearly 2000 DPS. Of course when you fit it with full damage amplifiers, and well, I'll show you the fit that I'll be using throughout this video. And well, 1154 DPS with all of these modules offline. When these modules are active, the DPS would jump to almost 2000. I think it's 1960 something. I'll be checking it out on the safe spot later on. The weapons didn't get a major increasement. They do almost a 2000 hit per cycle. A single weapon will do 2000 hit per cycle, and that is more than enough to one-shot a frigate, bomber, destroyer, and pretty much enough to melt a whole cruiser with a full cycle of all these 4 weapons, which is kind of ridiculous and of course kind of overpowered. And the developers did tell us that they will nerf the ships and that they will be reworked for the release. So I expect at least a 40 to 50% damage reduction for these new ships. Now, the medium slots are pretty much the same. I didn't change anything. I did upgrade the Webifers. They are MK5 now. They were MK3 first, but I did upgrade them to MK5, and of course the major changes are in the low slots. The particle stabilizers, there is 5 of them now, and each of them does give a decent boost, passive 5% and active 8% bonus on damage. And well, it will be really interesting to see the maximum damage output on this thing. Also, besides the decomposer skills, I did skill other side skills that I will need. For example, skills for the shield, armor, and other maintenance stuff. As for the rigs, I did focus on the damage and of course on the rate of fire. And on the mechanical rigs, I didn't place anything since there is no good mechanical skills available on sale now. But I would put rigs to increase my capacitor and of course to increase my speed. Now the skills and of course not the skills but the roll bonuses and the attributes for the ship are the same. Pretty much what was shown last time is still here. Although I can say that I don't see anymore the Webifer bonus. I think the Webifer bonus was removed in one of the patches that happened between the videos, so that's interesting. I'll definitely compare the first attributes to these ones, since I think there are some changes, and of course everything else is pretty much the same. The ship's length also remained the same, and pretty much everything else is the same. Well, now I am on my safe spot over here, and well, I will simulate the full DPS potential of this current fit, and well, I think I'm pretty close to 2000 DPS. I think it's 1970 or something. I'm about to find out. Let's pop the fitting window. 1939.36 DPS. Well, that's actually pretty good. It is ridiculous, and 2053 damage per cycle and 4.25 seconds cycle length, or reload if you want to call it like that. So yeah, they definitely improved a lot in the reload, since the cycle without these modules is 7 seconds. With these modules it's 4 seconds, so pretty much 3 seconds got reduced, and the damage got increased slightly, which is pretty nice. Well, just to simulate how powerful this ship is, I will jump here, and I'm in a fleet, of course, and we did decide to go PvP, and we did catch one target. And well, I am warping in, and let's see how fast this ship can kill one of its own kind, since the target is the same Can-Yue prototype that I am flying here. And well, the objective and the command was to take him out. And well, he is scrambled, he is webbed, and well, I did target him, and I did engage all of my weapons. One of the weapons is inactive. I did plan to snatch the kill with that weapon, but it turns out it wasn't necessary, because my DPS is just ridiculous, and you will be surprised how much damage I did compared to everyone else in the fleet. And I was also surprised. I expected to be somewhere in the middle, but turns out the damage that I did to him was really high, and I'm definitely really surprised that this ship is this lethal. Now, I also did catch the pod. It's not me if I don't catch the pod. That's interesting. So, how much damage did I do to him? Did I do to him? Well, I'll be a little bit quicker than the video here, and I'll say I did at least 57% damage to him, and he had at least 7 other battlecruisers shooting at him, and I did 57% of damage. I think it's around 22,000 hit points, which is a lot, and a lot of these fleet members did shoot him, and it just happened that I was doing the most damage. Now let's see the kill here on the combat log, and let's see that one. Oh my god, it's 56%, not 57, my bad. 56% damage done. Oh my god, that's a lot of damage in such a short amount of time, actually. And I did change my fit a little bit. It is without 2 of these particle stabilizers, but it still does a fantastic job, since my DPS is also still above 1.5 thousand. I think my DPS currently is around 1.8 thousand, which is still very high. I think I did see some other battlecruisers with around maybe 1.5 thousand DPS. I'm not quite sure. Pretty much similarly fitted as my ship, but yeah, I'm actually very close to 2000 DPS. I might try to reach the 3000 barrier with the time that I have in this open beta, with these better rigs, of course. But first, let's check out the ratting potential of this ship and how fast can I kill these rats. Now, I did learn that these weapons have very poor tracking. That's actually true. These weapons have virtually no tracking, and they are pretty useless at close ranges. So long range distances are definitely the to go for this ship. Long distance sniping is definitely suitable for this ship. Pretty much kill the enemy before the enemy gets close. If they get close, they have a high chance of actually taking you out, so you have to be careful around that. Now, I can definitely say this can pop the frigates, and this can pop the destroyers, and it can almost pop cruisers with a single cycle. Of course, I'm talking about these rats, but even players, you can literally pop players with this. You can pop easily frigates. Any frigate can be easily popped by this. You can pop also destroyers, and you can one cycle a cruiser with all of these weapons easily. Of course, some of them are going to be tanky, so some of them are definitely going to take some time to be destroyed. But yeah, it still is very ridiculous. And well, the improvements in my skills allowed me to use 5 of these modules simultaneously without my capacitor running out of electricity, and so far I am satisfied with its performance, with its DPS. It is still very ridiculous, and this ship is still broken, but again, the developers have said that they will fix it. And overall, I did have lots of fun playing this ship, and also I did have lots of fun playing the other destroyer. I actually had more fun playing the destroyer, since that ship is a lot more faster, and it required you to play a little bit more risky, since you have to get close to the enemies to kill them. While this thing you can just sit with this thing at around 70-kilometer range and just snipe them. I have around 60-kilometer range with these weapons currently, so I think that's really good. And they have a very fast cycle. Their cycle is 7 seconds without the particle accelerators, and of course 4 seconds with all of these active, which is not bad. It is actually very, very good. 4 seconds reload or 4 second cycle per module on weapons is pretty decent, is pretty good. And in ratting, this ship is definitely going to be a fantastic ratting ship, and also a fantastic mission ship. Although I didn't do too many missions in this beta because ratting is just a lot more effective. But again, you can do missions with this ship easily. The expert and the advanced missions are going to be very easy with this ship. And of course, I am in Null over here, and they do give good loot. They do give good ISK reward, and I can tell you this ship is definitely excellent for the job. Now, for a fleet, and in fleets, it depends from the fleet. The bigger the fleet, the more you can focus on DPS. Since if the fleet is very big, you will have support ships that will pretty much support you, and you will not have to worry about running out of energy and running out of shield armor. And in a fleet, this current fleet that I'm using would definitely work. You can just imagine what 10 of these can do. I mean, I think we already did have an insight on what these things can do already. In the previous event, there was a whole fleet of these things, and they melted everything. There was a whole fleet of these faction battlecruisers, and because of that fleet, not many of us were able to shoot at the developers, because if you, for example, uncloak, or if you, for example, happen to be their primary, they will just pop you without hesitation. And there was like 20 or 30 of them, maybe even 50 of them. I have no idea. I remember I saw a huge bubble of these ships at around 70 kilometers from the developers, and well, I saw all of them focusing the developer, and I think they melted the developer very quickly, and that was kind of fun to watch. Ships have ridiculous resistances, and that fleet managed to eat through that like it was nothing, and that was really interesting. That was really interesting to watch. Now, again, in fleets you will have support ships, you will have logistics that will support you, and in major big fleets you can actually use this ship, and this fleet. Now, of course, in the occasional smaller fleet, I wouldn't recommend that you use this current setup. You should go for a more balanced setup. For example, one or two of these particle accelerators combined with a shield extender, a invulnerability field, and of course a afterburner or micro warp drive. It pretty much depends, or you can even just place one of these particle accelerators and put more in the resistances, because resistances also matter a lot. And but in my case, you know me, if you follow my channel for a while, you know that I either go full tank, or I either go full DPS. I never choose in between. I'm always leaning either towards more DPS or towards more tank. And that's just my personal preference, since that's how I used to play the game. And that's how I play the game, actually. My tactics kind of are very tricky, very risky. And if I mess up just one thing, I am pretty much losing my ship. That's how I play this game. Pretty much my run, like when I go PvP, I rely on the perfect execution of my idea on how I planned to engage the target, and that also requires a lot of practice. Did I mess up a couple of times? Yeah, I did. Did I lose a ship? Well, I lost a bomber in the event, something that I didn't mention. But losing that bomber was totally unrelated to my mistakes, since I actually fainted for some reason. It was really funny. All of a sudden, I kind of felt dizzy, and I just kind of shut down for a moment there. And by the time I came to my senses, the ship was already destroyed. So that's how I lost a bomber. Very fun. Very fun. Well, I guess stuff like that happens. That it's not a big deal. It is a beta after all, and well, I will just buy a new one. That's how go. That's how things go with it. That's how things go in this game. Okay, well, definitely relaxing to watch this ship just melt these rats. This ship has very high DPS and of course very high alpha. We can hit something over 8,000 alpha with this ship, and I think it's around 8.5k hit points per cycle, per grouped cycle, of course, and that is actually enough to almost one-shot a cruiser. I kind of don't know the hit points on a cruiser. I think cruisers have around, I think they have around 5,000 to 10,000 hit points without much of a resistance buff. But one or two cycles of these weapons will kill them. As for battlecruisers and of course bigger ships, well, you did see me melt that battlecruiser very quickly. He did not stand a he did not stand a chance. I did more than half of damage to him. I did 56% of damage, and I just literally warped in. So when we look at battlecruisers and shapes like that, yeah, this thing will dominate pretty much most of the battlecruisers in the game. Especially if you are long range, since you will have to be long range with this ship. If the enemy battlecruiser, for example, is a close range one, you will definitely kill it without much of a problem. Even when they get close to you, you have dual webs and you have the warp disruptor. You can make them pretty much stationary once you catch them in the web range. And since they will be going around less than 100 meters per second, the tracking on these turrets is definitely going to be enough to hit it from up close. So even when they get close to you, you can still troll them and you can literally stun them with the webifers and you can just pop them. And yeah, how do you engage this ship? I have no idea honestly anymore. If they have dual webs or triple webs, since I saw that as well, dual web or triple web alongside with a warp disruptor and a drone. If you're in a frigate or destroyer that came too close to this thing, yeah, I think it can actually track you with two webifers on you. So if it gets to web you up close, it can reduce the transversality between you and him, and the weapons, the turrets, can track you if you're very slow, and they can hit you. So getting too close is not a good idea if they have webifers. Getting too far from it is also not a good idea, because the turrets have insane range and have insane rate of fire, and they can still hit you from even from up far, but again even from up close, if they manage to web you. So the best tactics should be, I don't know, be around the middle, or pretty much gang up on it in a fleet, since that way it will I mean, it is less of a chance that you're going to be its primary if you're in a fleet, unless you're a expensive target or unless you're the first one to catch him. But yeah, definitely a tricky ship to very tricky ship to counter, very tricky ship to counter, and you really have to be careful around these things. Now, of course, you will have one thing though that will be working on you. If you are in a frigate or destroyer that's very fast and very small, like if its signature is very small, then a battlecruiser will have a very tough time locking you. I'm talking about maybe 10 or 15 seconds lock time. If you use a micro warp drive, then they will lock you faster because your signature radius will be greater, because micro warp drives increase the signature radius. But if you're using a afterburner, then you have a bigger chance of getting close to it while it will still take a while for it to lock you. So definitely a afterburner is a good idea. I think you can actually fit dual afterburners. I think that actually works, and that way you can actually get micro warp drive speeds while retaining the same signature radius without the signature radius penalty. So that way you can get close to it, and that way you might have a chance at surviving even dual webs, because then you will still be going at a decent speed, and its turrets are not going to track you if you're very up close to it, and if you're going at least 500 meters per second. So these are some tactics that you can use for this ship, to fight it, to shoot it. But for this ship, if you are flying it, yeah, dual webs, a warp scramble, a drone, and of course a energy neutralizer or a Nosferatu is definitely a good idea to have on this ship, because those are actually a good fit, and An energy neutralizer is actually a greater enemy than the dual webs, since well actually that combined is actually not good for a attacker, because they will be out of energy and they are going to be out of modules, because they're not going to be using any modules without energy, and then they will be slow, and then the turrets potentially can one-shot it up close if it's a frigate or destroyer. So it is a really tough ship to counter at this very moment. It will be really interesting to see how this ship will be implemented when the game gets released in mid-August. And again, it is just a 4-week wait, so that's not a problem, not a problem at all. We'll just be patient for 4 weeks and the game will be out, and then we are going to play this game officially live without any deletions anymore, which is something that people were excited about for a very long time now. Well then, so far I did have lots of fun playing the beta, and I did have lots of fun playing this ship. This ship might very well be currently my favorite. I don't know. I thought about bringing it to the Citadel stress test, but I kind of gave up on it because it's very slow. It's actually very slow. It's very big. It's a very easy target, and I was mostly solo. And yeah, it's a good idea that I didn't bring it, because I would lose it, like I did lose my bomber. And well, overall, it was a good experience. Sadly, I think there is no battleship. Sadly, there is no battleship of this faction. Maybe it will be introduced later on. I don't know. Currently, the Battlecruiser is the biggest class of the new faction, and as such, it definitely packs the punch. This ship is very good currently. It is so good that it is actually overpowered. And well, you can also make this ship very tanky, but again, that's also due to personal preference. I think I am pretty satisfied with the current fit that I use, because it is very potent, very dangerous, very lethal, and this ship so far does a fantastic job at everything that I threw at it. It's fantastic for PvP. It's even more fantastic for PvE, because you can literally just relax while playing it. You don't have to worry about anyone jumping you. Even if someone jumps you in a anomaly, you can just melt it. Like, this is one of the first ships where I feel confident in ratting and having neutrals in the local, because I just know if someone jumps in, I can just one-shot him or two-shot him, because I am pretty much prepared for that. It is a semi-PvP fit, and I also have a drone, so you don't have to worry much about anyone jumping you when you're in anomaly, because currently you are pretty much going to melt anything that comes close to you. Well, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. It was my pleasure to play this game for you, and well, this is a very good ship, a very fantastic ship so far. I did enjoy every second of it, and here is my fit once again. A very decent build, very decent fit. So far, I like it. You can use it if you have decent skills for ratting. You can use it for fleets if you have logistics in your field, of course. And again, the I think they changed these attributes a little bit, since I remember that this ship had a stasis Webifer bonus on range. Oh well, I guess that was a little bit overpowered, so they nerfed it. Well, anyway, like I said, I hope you enjoyed. It is my pleasure to play this game for you. Fly safe, and well, I'll see you next time. Take care.